Growing up, I had dreams and aspirations, but always felt like the kid that didn't fit in. For the most part, I wasn't a bad kid, but when I made the transition into adulthood, I turned to the streets for guidance. This led to getting locked up in juvenile hall, doing time in CYA, and eventually a 120-month sentence in federal prison. I had a lot of time to think and reflect during my federal sentence, so I share with you what I learned, hoping I can positively influence someone else's life with Prison Talk.
What up? Big Kirk 916. You tuned into another episode of Prison Talk. You know, I just finished a workout in the gym, and I was just thinking, what was a turning point in my life when I went from being a good kid to being a bad kid? What triggered that, man? What made me turn towards the streets and kind of go down that dark path? You know, prior to getting in trouble, I was a straight A student, man. I mentioned this before. Was in the BMXing and freestyling back then. Skateboarding, that was one of my passions. You know, played some basketball, but having grown up in San Francisco on Treasure Island, skateboarding was our thing. You know, I used to go to Embarcadero on the weekends, and we skate Chinatown Banks, Haight Street, HP Dish. I mean, we'd be all over the place, man. But I was really heavy into skateboarding, and then when I moved to Sacramento, didn't have the same friends that I had on base. Still pursue skating, but it was different, it was kind of like being a fish out of water, because I was one of the only black skaters. Wasn't a lot of people in the hood skating back then. Me and one of my other childhood friends and one other childhood friend that I got into skating, it was like three of us out of the whole neighborhood. And we skate our little launch ramps and stuff and do our tricks. But I think it was a transitional period when I moved from the Bay Area to Sacramento, and then not being able to get the skateboard decks like I used to, because when you skate, you go through a lot of skateboard decks. You break them, trucks break, different stuff breaks, and if you can't afford to fix it, you're skating on the shitty board. And I can almost pinpoint it, man. I remember I broke my board. I had a Lester Kasai Madrid skateboard. For those who are OG skaters, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A Lester Kasai, man, one of my favorite skateboards. I've had Schmidt sticks, I've had Vision, I've had Santa Cruz, I've had Blockhead, Pal Peralta. I've had a bunch of the old school decks, but the Madrid Lester Kasai, I used to be able to ollie my ass off on that board. And I cracked the tail, man. So I had like half a skateboard. And I remember asking, I think it was my grandfather for another skateboard. And he was old school, man. He wouldn't really, the skateboarding stuff to him was just, whatever, in the street. And he's like, I'm not gonna like spending money buying them decks, buying them boards. And for me, it was an escape. I get on that board and I go all over, man. I skate all over Sacramento, Watt Avenue, downtown, Sac State. We skate all over. And when I lost that board, man, when that board broke and I couldn't afford to buy another one, I was like 13, 14. It crushed me, man. It crushed me. And then, a cheaper alternative was just playing basketball, playing hoop. Everybody in the hood played hoop, I didn't play like everybody else at that time, but I was more into skateboarding. So, you know, I kind of started playing basketball and hanging out, and then eventually got into some other stuff. But the skateboarding was my escape, and it wasn't necessarily my grandfather saying that he would get me another skateboard deck, but it did kind of curtail my dreams of becoming a professional skater and my confidence. You know, it kind of messed with my confidence, man. And so eventually, you know, not skating, you know, playing hoop, and then, you know, stealing shoes, you know, stealing from stores. Back then, you used to run up in the store, or you wouldn't run up in there. You walk in there, try a pair of shoes, cut the tags off, you know, these stores, Marshalls, Ross, run out of there. And that's how you got shoes for school. That was a gateway crime. So, you know, you don't just turn into a bad kid overnight. There's little things. And parents need to be aware of their kids, and when they have passions and hobbies, to make sure you feed those passions and hobbies, and to instill confidence in your kids, no matter what. I mean, if he'd bought that skateboard deck for me, man, or a couple of them, he had the money. I mean, it wasn't no big thing. I just didn't have the money. Who knows? I would have kept skating. And, you know, that little purchase would have maybe translated into something else, because when you can't get it from your family, you're gonna go get it from the streets. You got to get it from the streets, man. And it's like, well, people say, well, if you don't have money, you don't need it. That's bullshit. If you're a kid and you want certain things, you're going to go get it from the streets, unless you have that person mentoring you and saying, hey, man, let's look for some options, or blah, 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 or, you know, whatever the case may be. But for me, it was like a slap in the face, man. Like, I can't skate. All right, I'm going to start hanging out, doing this. And then, you know, the group of friends went from, you know, totally different group of friends when I went from skating to, you know, hanging out hanging out and just, you know, playing hoop and hanging out on the streets. You know, the skateboarding kind of kept me away from that. It made me feel like, you know, when I'm doing new tricks, like I had something, a challenge. And school was pretty easy for me, but I didn't have any direction in school either. I didn't have anybody telling me, you know, what to try to major in at that age. But yeah, man, I just thought back to that, man. When my last deck broke, that's why I quit. That's why I stopped skating, man. I would have still been skating. So it took a long time to reflect that, and I don't hold anybody accountable for my wrongdoing, for what I did. I just think that, you know, when there's an opportunity to give a child hope, a dream. You know, I watched the movie King Richard, and what Serena and Venus's dad did for them is amazing, man. You know, if you had more parents like that participated, that instilled the confidence, the belief, you know, didn't give up, didn't, you know, make excuses, didn't, you know, even if you didn't go on to become five-time Wimbledon, even if you just got the opportunity to play and get out the hood. I mean, dude, support your kids, man. Don't crush their dreams. And if you have a dream out there, keep pursuing it, you know, to hell with what everybody else is talking about. You're going to have haters out there regardless. You know, if you feel like you're a square or you're ostracized, so what, man? Go do you. You know, stick with your gut, man, and man, pursue your dreams. That's what it's about, man. Pursue your dreams and build confidence in your kids around you. Don't ever tear your kid down, man. If you tear your kid down, you're a piece of shit. If you don't build up your little people around you, man, who are trying, they're innocent, man. They're innocent. Build them up, man. Big Herc 916, Prison Talk.
Lockdown's over. Get your yard time in. Exclusively at FreshOutSeries.com. I'm Big Herc, and I have over a decade of experience in the prison system. Yeah, I've done a lot of time, made a lot of stupid mistakes, but that's why I'm here with you today, educating you on the Mastermind Program by Fresh Out. See, they don't give you a manual when you go to jail on how to survive. They don't tell you how to go take a shower, where to sit at when you go to chow, what to do when you have mail call, how to handle your commissary. See, we cover that and a multitude of other topics that are very important, because if you do the wrong thing, you can get your damn wig split. We have over 100 million views as of date on our YouTube channel, but we've put and condensed all this knowledge into this Mastermind program so that you can provide your client with a winning chance. Do yourself a favor and your client a favor and sign them up for our program so they don't have to get their wig split and they can make it out alive.